Hey guys, welcome to Nightshift episode 9. I'm Jaffe along with my hosts David, Carlos, and Will. Today on the show we have Cheyenne and Aya. I've been super excited about this episode. Me and Aya have talked for quite some time about getting her on here, and she's been busy with her travels, but let's jump right into it and discuss how you got your name, your stage name. Both these guys took credit for it, so we'll give both of them
Take it for
credit.
nothing.
Yeah, so almost 2 years ago, I went to the jungle of Ecuador, to the Amazon, and I drank ayahuasca for the first time, and never stopped. From that point on, I'm like 31 ceremonies in.
Are you
and
31 ceremonies
still a
in?
baby, yeah.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I guess we got to ask, like, what is that, what is that like? What is that experience like going to the jungle of Ecuador, and how did the whole thing go whenever you decided to take ayahuasca? Tell us a little bit about it.
So I guess I should probably tell what ayahuasca is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the ayahuasca brew is composed of two parts. There's a vine called the Banisteriopsis caapi, and then there's these leaves that contain DMT, that are called chacruna leaves, and they're like boiled together in water, and it creates this like psychedelic brew. But it's like a ceremonial brew that has been used for many thousands of years by many different tribes and traditions in the Amazon, all over South America. And there's a lot of healing properties to the plants, and also it's like it contains DMT, and when these leaves are like combined with this specific vine together, and it only works when they're together, it activates the DMT to be released, and so it causes the DMT in your own body to be released when you drink this. And so every living being contains dimethyltryptamine, which is what is released in the brain when you are born and when you die and when you dream, and other like altered states of consciousness too, like really deep meditations or like breath work, stuff like that. And there's an enzyme in our stomachs that stop your DMT from being released in your waking state. And so whenever you drink this brew, it causes that enzyme, like it interacts with the MAO inhibitor that's in the ayahuasca vine. And so it causes the DMT to be released in your own body. So it's like always like a very personalized journey. So it's very different than like taking a mainstream psychedelic.
How long does it last for?
The effects last about 6 to 8 hours, but I've sat in ceremonies that were from 4 or 5 hours to 12, 14, depending on like how many times you drink in the night and the type of tradition you're working with.
So I've always known, whenever I heard about it, was for people that had a trauma or a situation that they were trying to get over or understand. What led you down this path? What made you try it?
So, yeah, I have a very interesting life story.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, and
Do you care to share, or is that something you don't want to get into?
Can you give us the cliff notes?
yeah, I'm gonna like whatever wants to come out is what's gonna come out.
Right.
Yeah, so I started my journey with plant medicines at like 15 years old, after like formerly being exposed to a lot of pharmaceutical medication at a very young age. A lot of like the more Western modern paradigm for like healing at a really young age.
Were you doing peyote?
No, I mean like I've been to like therapists, and I've been to
I
like
see.
like psychiatrists, psychiatric hospitals,
I see.
like at a very young age, pharmaceutical medicine. And so there was a lot of like unprocessed trauma that I had. And like one thing that plant medicine works with is rewiring the neural pathways in the brain. So actually carving new neural pathways in the brain. And so where there's these like tendencies to like be really narrow in like a thought process, like that things can only be this one way, like really rigid, or like limiting beliefs, things that are not even true, like the things that we tell ourselves that are just because of like our perception based off of experience and like memory. It's not actually real, like plant medicines help to go in and like rewire the neural pathways in the brain. And so it's amazing how much of your reality you can shift just by changing like these pathways, just by like thinking different thoughts and saying different words, because you're like working with the subconscious mind, which is different than the conscious mind, just different than your waking state. You're waking just day to day having a conversation. There's a lot more going on than what you can perceive with your senses.
How powerful do you think that is? I mean, can you actually alter your specific thought process of what's going to happen next for you? Do you feel you can
You
go
definitely
that far?
have, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you can make a decision to what your next step is, and it definitely is going to happen because of your pathway being diverted by your choice?
If it is meant to happen, then it will.
So
But
the-
intention definitely matters, because intention carries a certain frequency.
I see.
Everything carries a certain frequency.
But there's still a fate clause, right?
I believe that so I took a trauma-informed plant medicine facilitation training, and what my teacher has told me is that everyone has a blueprint, like a soul blueprint, and then people also have imprints. And these imprints come from past experiences. Your imprints come from the memories that your brain creates. The imprints come from traumas and things. So it influences the blueprint. But there's still like this underlying, like if you want to go into the higher self aspect of things, there's this, there are these timelines, if you will, that you can like step into, right? If you align yourself to be able to like, if you align yourself to like the frequency of like conscious creation, then through your intentions and your goals that you are setting, like you can make things literally manifest physically in ways that seem miraculous. I've experienced it.
But I don't have to do ayahuasca to do that, do I?
No, everyone's experience with like spirituality or awakening or whatever is so different. Some people never need to touch plant medicine.
Okay.
Period. For some people, that is what they are called to
Right.
be able to like open up these new perspectives, be able to see from different lenses. Sometimes it takes plant medicine, and also plant medicine is used for so much more than just like healing from trauma. Like we have symbiotic relationships with plants, right? Because we breathe the oxygen that they give us, and we breathe out the CO2 that they take in as oxygen. And so we're constantly like, we live because of them and they live because of us. So we're in constant like correlation with these plants, right? And so what I think about it is these plants carry this like higher intelligence, not necessarily anything that we can't tap into ourselves. They don't really know things that we don't know, but they're more attuned to like transmit this information and carry it like in a cellular level, like at a cellular base. They hold this like information, and they don't speak. When you speak, you disperse energy, right? So that's why people do silent meditation, silent retreats, and stuff like that. Plants don't speak. Plants don't. They're not made up the same way as us in the cognitive way.
They do communicate though.
They do.
Through the root system.
But they carry this intelligence without having been a human. Like they
Right.
haven't been through human experiences and like faced traumatic events. Like they haven't faced a heartbreak with a partner like a human has.
Right.
So their like intelligence is like untarnished, if you see what I'm saying.
We have choice.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm just
And
saying,
that's
so
our-
when we
that's our
commune
downward
with these
top of the
spirits,
food
like they
chain.
have a high level of intelligence that's like can be really beneficial
Right.
for us to learn from them, because as a collective humanity, I don't believe that we've reached our fullest, highest potential as a human race.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't even need plant medicine
It's
to reach these connect in this way.
I know David and I talked about going on an ayahuasca trip before, but it probably fizzled out. But I think it's become kind of faddish. I mean, do you see a lot of people that, when you go on your journey, that are just trying it out for the hell of it because they heard about it, or are they
Trying a new drug.
Right, try a new drug, DNT, let's do it.
I believe that everyone's relationships with plant medicine is unique to them.
Yeah.
And even if someone's just doing it for the hell of it, then there's lessons in that for them to learn. So even if they are, it's like that's their journey with the plants.
I did it once.
You did it once?
Only once.
How'd you feel?
I was in my 20s. My friend Benji, he came and it looked like purple glass.
Yeah.
And I remember he had the bong, and I was like, he was standing right in front of me. I was like, why are you standing in front of me? He's like,
That's DMT.
TNT.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, tell him the story though.
Yeah, so he's like, well, when you blow out, you're not going to be able to hold it. So you're supposed to apparently just take a little bit. So I took a bong rip of this stuff, and I just remember I had this Ansel Adams picture of like this white tree with snow on it in my bedroom. And I remember when I blew out, I just remember falling back, and he said that I must have said, oh my God, like 100 times. And I remember to this day just being like, oh my God, oh my God. Everything was like super pixelated, and like everything was in spirals and like little cubes, and I was like, what in the fuck is going on? And then when I came back to, I was like a little bit scared, because I'm like, I don't think I was supposed to do that. I didn't realize like you cannot comprehend that your brain, because when people say tripping, they're thinking like acid mushrooms, like that's where the hallucination part comes from. This is a whole different animal. You know, like for me it was. I was
Ayahuasca is very different than DMT.
I can
though.
only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about doing it. I just, for me, it seems like a big process. You know, you can't just go there and do it and come back. You have to, you have to prep your nutrition, right? You have to cleanse your body, detox it. Yeah. Well, but I still consume sugars and things like that they, you know. I mean, it would be easy for me, but regardless, I get limited vacation time.
You would need it. Like
so for me, I have to, I have to prepare for that. You know, you have a free spirit and stuff like that. For me, I have to, this week in the Amazon is going to happen in May of 2024, you know? Right. So for me, it's been more of a conflict of interest when it comes to time. But I mean, I definitely mentally, I feel prepared for something like that. I think that when you experiment with any kind of drug, if you're not mentally opened to the experience or what is going to happen, it could backfire. You know, you could have a bad trip, as they say. You know, if your psyche is not right, if all your issues are hidden in your subconscious, and then you bring, you do things like that alter your subconscious, that it can be a bad situation. So when I've done mushrooms and LSD, and I've been in a good space mentally. And it's helped me expand my consciousness and the way I look at things. So I would definitely love to try it at some point. I just need to be ready for it.
I know Jaffe described what the DMT experience is like, but what is the ayahuasca like? What happens? Is it different every time?
It's completely different.
And then what happens?
To each person, right?
I can share some of the more universal teachings of ayahuasca. And both of y'all know that I'm part of a church that at any point, any of you are welcome to come to.
Right.
And it's only 3 hours away. And it wouldn't need to be 2 weeks long.
I know, we've talked about it. I
haven't
done it yet.
Out of all 31 times, tell us one of the most memorable.
You get a different thing every time, right? From it?
Yeah, your relationships with the plants tend to become very personal. But I would say that universally, ayahuasca is one of her many spirits is a serpent, right? So sometimes you'll meet her in the form of a serpent.
I don't like snakes.
Yeah, I can't say that.
But so
I'm out.
there's different medicine wheels, but there's a medicine wheel where there's these animal archetypes that are connected to the directions. And the serpent is connected to the direction of the south, which is connected to the element of fire, right? And fire is the great transformer, transmutes, right? When something is too, energetically, the fire burns away as a symbolism of burning away, right? And purification. You put gold in the fire and it's brighter than it's ever been, And so the serpent is all about shedding old skins and old layers and things ways of being, which is connected to the fire. And ayahuasca is very much about shedding, shedding identities.
You're just letting go of stuff.
Shedding identities. The roles that you take on in your daily life, the husband, the daughter, the brother, the teacher, the manager, whatever, and you learn how to strip away these labels,
then
and
to
like
get to, like,
and
your
turn
true self.
and really like come into this space of like the void of like emptiness, like being nothing and everything at once. So she's a lot about surrender, but it kind of carries on into your regular life because you learn how to surrender to like not knowing the answers to everything. Like you surrender to like having to have a reason for everything that you do or don't do. Like you start to like enter more into a state of flow and like lessen the rigidity or like linearity that like our patriarchal society tends to push us towards. And so she's like very much about heart opening as well, like self-love, like learning how to teaching you how to meet yourself in the ways that you weren't met at a point in time. So like,
have you done what is it, the frog,
You did
the buffo,
I've
buffo,
done-
buffo? Is that what it's called?
well, I did 5-MeO-DMT.
It's the one that Mike Tyson does.
which is
Yeah.
like the pure molecule. Like
It's called what?
So bufo, the bufo alvarius toad. So it's like the molecule that is the one that makes you hallucinate with bufo. There's many alkaloids that make up the bufo medicine, but I worked with a woman that specifically like extracts, like she works with bufo too, but specifically 5-MeO-DMT, the pure molecule.
Out there licking frogs.
That's
the one that
that
Mike
is
Tyson does.
wild. That is like full.
So hold on. So you licked the frog? Is that how it works?
No.
Not quite, not quite.
Well, no, because I've seen it with the marks when you've had
Yeah,
the
that's
marks.
combo. That's a different. There's
That's
a
a-
frog and there's a toad. The frog is not psychedelic. The toad is psychedelic.
Gotcha.
They're two different medicines.
Cheyenne, when you booking your next trip to the jungle?
You lost your voice?
So
Lost her
squeaky.
voice.
Oh,
Cheyenne, I'm sorry we kind of slipped away there. What do you do actually?
Outside of dancing,
Uh-huh.
I barrel race and I give riding lessons.
Oh, that's right. You do. You're an equestrian, aren't you?
you're a barrel racer.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Matter of fact, you just bought a new horse, didn't you?
I did.
I saw a picture. It was a gorgeous creature.
Thank you.
How'd you get it? How long you been doing that?
11 years, on and off.
That's cool.
So barrel. So you just do Western, or do you do English as well? Have you ever done any of that?
I wish I wasn't squeaking.
It's okay.
It's all right. Add character.
We'll pick you up.
English is a lot harder than Western.
Uh-huh.
You gotta have a lot more balance.
Yeah.
And a lot more practice.
So you do Western, or you just do barrel racing?
I do Western. I do Western pleasure. I do trail riding. I've dabbled in jumping,
Yeah.
but mostly barrel racing.
That's from people that I know that are into equestrian sports. It's just a lot of time consumption. How do you find the time between that and working as a dancer?
Well, I lost her about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
She got sold, and I moved to Colorado. And ever since I came back, I got into buying and selling and trading. It just wasn't for me anymore because I didn't have that specific horse. And when she came back up for sale with a different person, I dropped everything. And I was like, I'm doing it.
Oh, so you know this horse?
I do. I do.
Oh,
She was
wow.
my very first.
Wow. So
Oh, that's
you've
cool.
gone back and found her.
I did.
That's got to be a story right there.
Oh,
yeah. Wow. Show the picture. There's a beautiful horse. I was. How old is she then? Right. Yeah.
She's 9.
She's
She'll be
9.
10 in September.
Wow. So you guys have a history.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So how'd you get into dancing?
When she lost the horse.
Okay,
Gotta
so
get this money.
when I moved back from Colorado, my mom was managing a club. And I came back with nothing. So I started working the door. And then my fiance at the time was like, well, let's go do some dances. And then I had one customer that would come do dances from me just about every time I was working the door. And then from there, I was like, okay, so I'm making $7 an hour working this door. And I just made $100 in 5 minutes. And I was 18. I'd never done that before. I didn't have no money growing up. So it kind of just went up from there. I was never good at talking to people, so I got good at doing pole. And in 4 weeks, I'll be a certified pole instructor.
Oh, that's
wow.
cool.
That's cool.
Money that motivator, huh?
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Always.
I don't know shit about barrel dancing, but I've seen it on or racing, but I saw it on Yellowstone,
Yeah.
and they said the barrel dancers are the wildest ones.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Barrel dance.
We used to have that girl that was the equestrian. Remember, she performed at the circus.
Yes, she did.
Oh, she did the
Yeah,
Cirque du
she-
Soleil? No,
Yeah,
the Ringling Brothers.
She was the girl that
Yeah.
did like the backflips
Yeah.
off the horse when it was running.
Yeah, she was
Trick ride.
badass.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah. Still is.
Yeah.
Vaulting, I think is what's called.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like
We
the
gotta
horse
see-
like goes around in circles and they do tricks on the vault. Yeah, it's
right.
pretty crazy, pretty wild.
Do you guys hang out outside of here? Are you guys friends?
We're about to today. I'm
Oh,
about to
yeah?
grab some dinner after this.
We talked about it many times. It's just
Okay.
always been.
I just figured if he had trying to talk you into
You gonna
doing
make us some
ayahuasca.
tea?
Don't take any of her teas.
Be careful.
That's funny.
That's funny.
So tell us about Kara. You know,
Yeah.
like what was Kara like, and when did Kara start her journey as a dancer? And tell us a little bit about what you were like.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, where do I start? Okay.
That person's been
I
long gone,
started, like,
right?
I started selling drugs at a really young age. I was like 15 years old, and I was like selling a few different substances. Was introduced to substances at a really young age, so I was like playing around with a lot of pharmaceutical medicines and partying a lot, in and out of like the system in different
Juvie?
ways.
Were you in Juvie?
No,
Oh.
no, I went to I got arrested when I was like 18.
Oh, okay.
And
This for a drug charge?
yeah,
Yeah. So you're just bona fide drug dealer.
That's when you started
That's what I'm
dancing.
saying.
no,
She got
I was
street cred,
15.
You started dancing at 15?
No, I started selling
Oh,
substances.
I was like,
It's 15.
Yeah, I was like in a partnership with somebody and like, yeah, definitely like robbed people, robbed houses, a lot of craziness
Wow.
at a really young age. Yeah, partying really hard,
Gangster.
hard. Yeah.
So one day you decided to be a dancer.
And actually, when I started dancing, I slowed down a lot. Instead of like partying every weekend, seriously, I was like dancing, making money, and I was too young to drink, so I didn't drink.
Uh-huh.
I would like smoke a weed pen or something, being 19, dancing. But yeah. And then I was old enough to drink.
Dun,
And I went to a lot of music festivals. Like I had some really exciting times, but let's just say that
I think you're trying to keep it PC.
No, I know, I
just
know.
remember that part of our show is called Uncensored.
no, she
So-
says something about
She don't wanna
sucking
incriminate
fingers.
herself,
I know,
right? So,
No, okay, so I am one of those people that at one point, yeah, I would say I had my first threesome at like 16.
Yeah.
And then I had my first sexual experience with a girl when I was like 12. And then I was like with women until I was like 15. And then I was very sexually open with a lot of people for many years. And now I've not had sex in almost a year. So, like, practicing celibacy
and
in
you're
other
sober
ways.
too.
Yeah, I haven't drank alcohol, had any substance, no nicotine or tobacco in 8 months.
That's all.
And I smoked for 9 years. But Kara, yeah. So, I used to sell panties, by the way. You guys were talking earlier. I was like, oh. Yeah.
Penny
What's the weirdest shit you sold?
So
Pennies?
I had this regular on this website called Scented Pansy.com.
Pansy?
And
Or
pansy.
Pansy.
Yeah, like
okay.
the flower. And like people sell crazy stuff on here. I mean, like there's someone that offered these like custom baked cookies, right? They're like chocolate chip cookies, and it has hashtag for like all the things that can go inside of it. So it's got like, it says like hashtag like blood, cum, spit, pubic hair, pee, poop. Like literally, you can like go on there and order cookies with
those
and
ingredients?
have whatever the fuck you want put in it. Yeah. So, anyways, I was on this website selling panties. It was like a fetish website, and you can sell all types of things. And so I would just like I would wear a pair because they would ask me to wear them for like, and people can tell if they're really about this type of stuff.
They know you-
They know
yeah.
if you're wearing your panties for 3 days or not. They know if you're only wearing it for a night and you're saying it's for 3 days, they fucking know. So you better wear them for 3 days.
Smells like new.
So I would wear them for like 3 days.
It's like new and worn.
I would pay like literally like $7.
These are only 2 days. Refund.
I mean, I'm making money off of it though.
Right, yeah.
But anyways, I remember one time when my manager asked me, said he had a customer for me. This is like 2.5 years ago. And the customer was in the bathroom, and he was just like, you know, I have this guy, and this is at the club, and I have this guy, and I think you would be good for him. But the thing is you have to shove a dildo down his throat.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, yeah, you know, I got that. And then he comes out of the bathroom, and I realized that I knew him and that I'd been upstairs with him before, but he never brought that out. Like, he never said anything about that. But he was one of the guys that really liked to be, like, humiliated. Like, like, the small cock, like, all of the things.
Check all the boxes.
Like, choking and smacking, like, spitting on his face, like, those kind of things. And so, like, I go upstairs with him, and we, like, sit down, and I'm, like, straddling him, and I'm just like, I heard you have a surprise for me. And he, like, reaches in his pants, literally, like, reaches in his pants, and pulls out, and, like, I thought it was going to be, like, the size of something, like, I would use, but it was, like 12 inches. It was fucking huge, and it had a suction cup on the bottom of it. I knew, like, what he probably did in his free time.
Oh my God.
And so, like, I was just like, okay. And so, like, I take it, and I, like, start putting it in his mouth, and, like, I mean, his mouth's wide open, and I stick, like, the suction cup part, like, on my chest, and I, like, leaned in. And he literally, like, takes the whole thing. He doesn't even choke.
Oh my God.
Like, he
It wasn't
literally,
it wasn't his
goes
first time.
down his
Yeah.
throat. Like, it just, like, disappeared. Anyway, so I proceeded to, like, fuck his throat for a minute. And to smack him around and talk shit, you know. And, anyway, he only ever did, like, 30 minutes, but it was, like, the funnest 30 minutes of my fucking life. And then I remembered, like, after I got done, my manager was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on tonight, but at the same time as I was upstairs doing that, there was another dancer in a room across the club that had this guy, like, on his hands and knees with, like, he said that he was, like, barking like a dog and had, like, his belt around his neck and, like, on all fours. Anyways, yeah.
So how does all this strip club world now work with your new found self?
This is it's been very interesting. So I've kind of felt like in my life in general, like, apart from this specific thing, like, I have had to go through, like, layers and layers of, like, hell-like places. It's been like Dante's Inferno. Like, to get to this other side of things, you know, I've experienced a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of, like, heartache and anger and all of these things, right? And then now at this point in my life, I've, like, experienced, like, ecstatic bliss and, like, peace and, like, happiness and joy, you know? So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And it's kind of been like that in my awakening process, too, where, like, when I first started to awaken, I started shifting some, and my awakening began before ayahuasca, actually. Ayahuasca just helped to catapult me deeper into the new path I was on. But, and I was still a little crazy even after I first started drinking medicine, too. Like, it's been a journey of, like, just changing, like, evolving. I don't know.
Yep.
I used to love, like, just anything extreme. Like, anything. I was about it. Like, I've done so many things. But it's also because, like, I'm somebody that's meant to hold space for, like, really deep processes. And, like, to be able to hold space for someone going through something really deep or traumatic or, like, working through something, you know, I have been through things myself. So, yeah, I move very differently in the club now, you know.
I have a question for Cheyenne. I know that we've talked before, and that you're very, I wouldn't say introverted, but you know you're a very quiet person. So, do you have a process before you come, or whenever you go to work, I guess as a dancer, that helps you with communicating with people?
Can I say anything?
Yeah.
Boy, I be masturbating. I be playing with it. If I bust a nut, I'm gonna have a good night. And then I listen to music on the way.
Is that it? So
Yeah.
that's your process. That's pretty good. Okay.
That works, yeah.
That's how I start every night.
It's quiet the
What
whole
about you? Do you do a ceremony of some sort? Hey, no,
Same.
What, before work?
yeah. Do you prepare your energy, or are you already kind of flow in that state all the time?
My life is a ceremony. I feel like
I always drive with no music.
Do you?
I practice Reiki on the club before I come in.
Yeah.
A lot. Because like you can do, like you have to have consent from people. Like if you're gonna, like if I was gonna practice Reiki on you, like I would need consent from you to do that.
Right.
There's just like boundaries, you know. But like when it's a place, it doesn't matter. So like the club itself, or like my night at work, like working with like Reiki with my night at work, it's not on someone specific, so it like, yeah, it's not crossing a boundary. So I guess, yeah, working with, and I also like, I make certain sprays, like I make sprays that are like, that have like stones in them and like certain oils and things that work with like protection of energy. And I even like create sprays that I can put in my mouth too, so that I'm actually like ingesting like the essence of the stones or whatever it is that I use to like for protection. And I found that it really, really works. Like it really helps to like create a shield, like an energetic shield.
So when you go home, you're not
So I
as
don't feel
drained,
like
perhaps?
well, just so I don't feel like I'm carrying a lot of things. It's another thing with like having sex with people. When you're exchanging energies, like it's similar, but it's not as extreme when you're not like sharing energy in that way. But you're still exchanging energy with people.
Yeah.
And we're like sitting on guys' laps and like stroking their face, and you know what I mean? So it's like you're still energetically exchanging. So
Right.
it's good to like create boundaries and like clear and know what's yours and what's not, like the emotions that you feel. And yeah.
One question that always pops up in these podcasts is, what's your kink? So, what's your kink? This is to both of you. Cheyenne?
I feel like she should go first.
Why? I've done a lot of talking.
If you guys don't want to divulge
we
it, that's
can do
fine.
it.
You know.
Okay, I'm more into a lot of harder BDSM
Okay.
and CNC and stuff along that.
What's
What's
CNC?
CNC?
I don't know what that is.
The easiest way to explain it is like consensual rape, I guess.
Ah.
It's like consensual non-consent.
Okay.
I like my sex life to be interesting. I can't do the same thing all the time.
Right. So
Consensual,
BDSM is
not
like your
consent.
thing, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that work if it's going to be non-consensual, but it has to have permission? So how do you find that? Like, how do you find someone that's going to participate in it?
It's probably a group of individuals that, you know.
I've only been with someone like that once.
Yeah.
It's not something that's common. Just like poly relationships, it's not something that's common. And it's not like when you try to explain it to somebody, like, yeah, it's basically like play rape. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But you find that one person that's like, so do you want to run through the woods?
Yeah.
You really just gotta pick your poison there.
It's like role playing, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little
I guess
harder.
a safe word is probably needed in those scenarios. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
You would say.
I've done it, I know.
Oh, really? So what's your safe word, Aya?
I don't really engage in that anymore.
Well, when you did, what was your safe word?
I don't really think I ever needed a
Didn't
safe
you
word.
say- Never had to use it. I got you.
No, I was pretty resilient. I was pretty able to take whatever was given to me.
All right. That laugh was so detailed, but I know you being conservative, so.
No, I used to have a slave. I used
Yeah.
to be a master.
Oh, yeah?
I used to be like
A sleep? What does that mean?
I just had
Oh,
one of
slave.
those.
Slave, yeah.
Like someone like
Oh, you were a
little
dom. You were
man
an
that was
actual
my
dom.
bitch, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and like it was fun. I like switching. Yeah.
I lost my first submissive 2 weeks ago. It was sad.
But he likes toilet degradation.
What? Toilets?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first of all, like he was the one that would like me to joke around with like sticking my heel down his throat.
Okay.
I was dancing at this time. I was like 20 years old probably. I was,
Toilet
like, your age.
humiliation, dude.
Yeah, toilet degradation.
You go in there and tell him his toilet's dirty.
Dude, you would literally like pee in it and like tell him that you're gonna make him drink it, and like stuff like that. So you're literally using like your like bodily functions,
Fluids.
like your bodily waste, as they call it.
And they really are drinking it and shit?
Well, like I never met this person in person. Like it was like over the.
Chat.
Do you remember Omegle? That's. So it was like this stupid. I don't even know if that's how I met him, but Kik was a big thing back then, and so yeah, like, just, I mean, I was basically like just sending him like audios, videos, pictures, specific instructions for things, but it was like specifically geared towards like shitting in a toilet, pissing in a toilet, making him lick the toilet bowl clean, licking my heels clean. He liked like dirty heels, dirty shoes, stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, willing to pay for it, so whatever.
Wow. So what does that pay?
Dude, I was literally like 20 years old. I don't even remember, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't anything too crazy, but it was fun. I enjoyed it
I see.
at that time. I enjoyed it. I think now I'm more like, I would want to explore like tantra.
Intimacy.
Like tantra.
Tantric sex. I got you.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be fully sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been able to reach like orgasmic states with like not having any penetration, not even having any like specific touching of like genitalia. You know, like it doesn't even have to go like that, and you can still work with. The
So
energy.
you've reached orgasm without touching yourself?
Yeah.
And without anybody else touching you?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm still connecting with someone, but it doesn't have to be. Because I work with like destimulating myself. I don't have a lot of like stimulation. So like, you know, you become desensitized through having too much stimulation. So like learning how to like become more sensitive like over time.
All right. Well, I guess that's your kink. In a roundabout way. So one is rape and the other one's
Oh, come on.
the other one's
No touch at all.
no touch nothing.
Yeah, the slave thing though, and like that's a big thing.
That's-
And,
it
like
was
a lot of guys
fun.
like to get dominated.
Yeah.
I remember one time I had this couple pulled up at the store, and I see this guy just jump out of the car, run around the corner, run around the front, open up the door. This lady gets out, and as soon as he opens up the door, and he was driving, he gets down on his hands and knees, and she puts a leash on him, and they walk him in my door. And I immediately go in the back and I call my partner. I'm like, you're not going to believe what's going on right now. But she walked him around the store, and he would sit there just like a dog the whole store, bought some products, and then left. And
Yeah.
she takes the leash off, he gets in the car and drives him off.
I used to be walked on a leash when I was in high school. I was in like 11th grade. I've only dated 2 people.
In public?
At my high school. But it was like 1,000
wait.
people. Yeah. I was like in 11th grade, and my mom, okay, so basically, yeah, I had a partner, and he was like a sadomasochistic sociopath at the time. And I was like 15 years old. But I allowed that to be. So I had him, we like bought this like leash and collar, and I like had him put it on me, and I like wore it to school.
How'd that go over?
Yeah.
Did he go
Was
to
it
school
my
with you?
prince? Yes, he was walking me
Oh, okay.
on
Like
the
the
leash, on the
staff-
collar.
the
Yeah,
staff
like
didn't say
everyone knew.
nothing?
No,
Like-
that's what. Yeah, so I had a principal named Miss Honeycutt.
That's how you know she was a problem.
I know, Miss Honeycutt.
I just,
And she stopped me in the middle of like the fucking hallway, and she was like, it was like, do you think you're a puppy or something? And I looked at her and I was like, no. Like, it's none of your business. And she was like, oh, it's a safety hazard if you're like, walking down the stairs or something and one of you falls. So they made me like take it off. Yeah, my parents were not happy. Because I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandpa was a preacher. So I grew up as a preacher's daughter, too. So it's a good look from a small town.
Those are always the crazy ones.
Those are the crazies.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
High school.
Cheyenne,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Cheyenne, tell us one of your crazy stories.
I can tell you about my first private party.
That's perfect.
I had a regular. It was my submissive, my very first customer that I saw consistently. I went to his apartment, and we agreed on X amount of money for X amount of time. And he comes in there, and he just starts pulling tampons. He pulls out a box of tampons, and he just starts pushing them out the fucking packet. And I don't remember the conversation we were having. I don't know, but he said he liked to use tampons like he was a woman, and that he would walk around with them in his pockets or in his wallet or wherever. And that was the end of that. I couldn't stay any longer. I was like, you need to decide. I had a crazy story in a club. It was my first time doing an hour dance. It wasn't at my current club. It was one of my very first. I was doing my first hour with this guy. I've never done an hour before. The most I had done was like 15 minutes. And I guess like my tampon string was hanging out on the side, and he like popped it out and threw it across the club.
Wow.
I tell that story to everybody. I was like, you want to hear the craziest things happen to me? That's it.
That's pretty fucking crazy. Yeah, for sure.
Probably mortifying, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I almost quit my job. I was a baby stripper. I was like 18 years old.
Wow.
So who went to retrieve it?
I don't know. It wasn't going to be me.
Still there, dude.
It could be.
On the wall.
I think the worst is when you're on stage and you forget to hide the string, and I've seen it where it's like, oh shit, I have to go up and like, hey, your string's showing. Oh,
better
so
cut
embarrassing.
it.
Yeah, I ran up there with some scissors.
To the stage?
Yeah, no, literally.
Hold on.
See, but a lot of people won't tell you. Like a lot of
I ran
girls
to the
will
house
tell you.
mom and got scissors and ran right up there. So second song, I was like,
It is embarrassing for
I've never done
all
that.
parties involved, but I mean, it has to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
Come running with
I mean, it's natural. I mean,
I don't know about how Joffy did it there at the stage with scissors. I mean, did you actually cut it yourself?
Backstage?
Oh, he went to the backstage.
no,
I was
but
watching the whole thing in my
I
head.
brought her sugar.
It's like, hey, spread them.
Put my glasses on.
Camera all night.
No, but it's a natural thing. I mean, I think we have a lot of taboos on things that happen and that everyone deals with, especially menstruation and things like that. It's such a taboo thing, whether it's to have sex or the string and things like that. I mean, that's just such a normal thing. It shouldn't be a taboo. It just is what it is, right?
That's what
Yeah.
creates life.
Right. Yeah.
It's also why I don't dance for girls that wear sundresses. If they're
Oh.
wearing a sundress, they're likely not wearing panties.
Well, women are always extra
Oh yeah.
because they think that's how you're supposed to behave. I guess in a gentleman's club, right? So.
Well, I just feel like if you're getting a dance and you're not wearing anything under there, I feel like a warning or like a conversation should be had. So I'm not going down on the bare puss.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for episode 9. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Aya, Cheyenne, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Cheyenne,
That was
we'll
great.
have to get you back on here when you have your voice.
Yeah.
Please.
Guys, have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Don't forget to send a picture of the horse.
Oh, I gotta find my phone.
I don't have your phone,
Lloyd
dear.
Oh,
You have your
surprise.
phone.
Did Lloyd call you?
Well, this is the horse.
See the horse?
Let me